All right, guys, welcome to a new episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I have the two-time Fittest military service member and semifinals athlete, Ellia Miller. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Well, we had a great conversation before this. I should have recorded it right in the beginning.
It was fun.
Yeah,
Lots of different topics. Some
yeah,
tinfoil hats.
yes, definitely. I don't really put on the tinfoil hat that much, but there's like one thing, and we just talked about I have to put the tinfoil hat on. So um but anyways, I know we've met through, obviously Instagram, because you messaged me about like a certain athlete. So obviously, like, I'm a diabetic. This is kind of like a quasi diabetes fitness podcast. And so what's your experience with diabetes?
So, to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience with it. I think I found your podcast through Victor Rodriguez.
Okay.
I think he posted about it, and then I gave it a listen. I listened to a couple episodes. I think the first one I listened to was your episode with Ellia.
Nice.
Um, I love her as an athlete. I love listening to her on podcasts. So that was an awesome episode, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But I'm a coach at my gym. I coach at Cobra Command CrossFit in Basehor, Kansas. And we have an athlete at the gym who's a type 1 diabetic. And she was getting ready to do her very first competition. She was competing in the Festivus Games,
Nice.
which I assume you've heard of it, but for people who haven't, it's like a scaled and intermediate only competition. It's called Festivus for the rest of us. And it's meant to be very accessible, very much like entry level competition.
Mhm.
And so she was super excited, but she was very nervous about how to manage her blood sugar throughout the day. And my conversation with her about this just so happened to come up like the day after I connected with you on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I need to ask him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I sent you that message, and she was very appreciative of the advice that you gave her. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I beyond that, I don't really have too much experience. Obviously, I know what it is. But that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah. So how did she do did she talk to you throughout the whole process of like doing that competition, and like how did it go for her?
So she had a lot of fun. She surprised herself with what she was capable of. And she figured out she didn't go into all the details with me, but she did figure out how to manage her blood sugar throughout the day. And the cool thing was there was actually another guy competing at the competition who was also a diabetic. He had a pump on his arm.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
and so the two of them kind of connected over that. So that was really cool. But
Nice.
she did amazing. I'm so proud of her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny, like seeing other diabetics in the wild. You just see like their like Dexcom, like glucometer sensor, or like their pump, and you're like, ooh, ooh, diabetic, diabetic. And so you just like kind of like say hello and stuff like that. It's almost like another CrossFitter in the wild. Like you see like all these like normal people. I mean, CrossFitters are normal too, but like you see like someone wearing like, a CrossFit shirt, and you're like, I know what's up.
Yeah.
So,
You
stuff
see
like that.
someone wearing nanos and you're like, ooh, let's talk.
Yeah, it's like, are you wearing those for comfort, or are you just wearing them because you like them? Or you just like you have no idea what they're from. So it's just like, it's a shot in the dark on that. But if you definitely see a CrossFit shirt, you're like, okay, this person kind of knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she did really well. But are you so you're in Kansas right now? So are you originally born and raised from Kansas?
No, I was born and raised in California.
Okay.
I in the Central Valley. I grew up in Modesto and went to undergrad at UC Davis up by Sacramento. Lived out there until I was 24, maybe. And then I moved to New Jersey for grad school.
Okay.
um, Saw snow for the first time when I moved to New Jersey. That was a wild time. Uh, I lived there for a couple of years. I had started a PhD program out there. And after about 2.5 years, I finished my master's degree and I ended up leaving the program. I was just really really unhappy and figuring out that it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Uh, so after I left grad school, about 2 months later, I found out I was getting deployed. At the time, I was in the Army National Guard, and I spent all of 2019 deployed. Came back early 2020. We all know what happened then. The entire world shut down.
Yep.
Um, so I was kind of at this point of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I had my uh, PhD program that I had left was for neuroscience. And so I had a big science background, um, but I just didn't fully enjoy it like
Hmm.
I had in the past. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I liked working out. And COVID was kind of an opportunity to do a lot of working out. um, and so I started getting more serious with my training and more serious with competing, and ended up connecting with a coach in Kansas City, Jill Glassnap. And I ended up moving out here in late 2021. I think like
Okay.
September, October of 2021, I moved out here and I've been here since.
Okay, very cool, very cool. I want to go back into like to the military stuff. So,
Yeah.
because like I love hearing people's stories of like why did you join the military? Like what was the go what was the thing for you that made you want to join the military?
Yeah. So when I was in undergrad, I was getting ready to start, actually, I guess before undergrad, I was getting ready to start my freshman year at UC Davis. And I got a recruiting letter in the mail from the ROTC program. And I kind of like made a joke to my parents. I was like, oh, I could join the Army. They'll pay for my school.
Yeah.
And my mom, she's, oh, good joke. But then my dad, he was like, well, like you could, like it's something to consider, like seriously consider. And so him and I ended up having a long conversation about it. And I'm very, very similar to my dad in a lot of ways. And he told me that one of his biggest regrets was not finding some way when he was younger to serve his country, whether it was through the military or something else.
Hmm.
Um, and I felt like I would have the same regret if I didn't at least try it. So I was very nervous. I was like, oh, the Army is a bunch of insanely fit people. They're like superheroes.
Yeah.
My dad's sitting there going, no, they're normal
No,
people.
they're average people. So,
Anybody can join the military. And I was like, okay, maybe you're right. So I joined the ROTC program at UC Davis. You were allowed to take the classes without actually like joining the program and being in the uniform.
hmm.
So I took the classes my first quarter of college. I liked them, so I joined the program, and then I started wearing the uniform, going to the lab exercises, all that kind of stuff. Um, Still hadn't committed anything to the Army. But I decided that I actually really liked it. And at the end of my freshman year, I applied for a scholarship. I received a 3-year scholarship. So they paid for my last 3 years of college. And
Nice.
in order to accept that scholarship, I had to sign my contract.
Hmm.
So I signed my contract in October of 2010, and just got my discharge paperwork about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very
So
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
So, what were you going in the army for?
So my original plan, when I was in undergrad, I was pre-med. My major was neurobiology, physiology, and behavior, and switched to that from biochem because I didn't want to take physical chemistry.
Hmm.
I took organic chemistry and said I don't want
Oh,
any more of
jeez.
this.
Yeah, that's awful. I've heard that's awful.
uh, Organic chemistry gave me a quarter life crisis in undergrad. So,
Hmm.
but when I was in undergrad, I thought I was going to go to med school and be a doctor. That was what I had wanted to do for my entire childhood. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be a neurosurgeon for the Army. So when I commissioned, I I basically got to choose my branch because I went into the National Guard instead of active duty.
Yeah.
Commissioning into active duty, there's an accessions process, and you have to like be matched with your branch, and it's needs of the Army. But because I was going into the National Guard, all I had to do was find a unit that had an opening with the AOC that I wanted and get a letter of acceptance. And I got that for medical service. So my plan was I'll go into the medical service corps. It'll give me an opportunity to see the medical side of the Army. I'll go to medical school. And then once I finish medical school, I'll, transfer over to the medical corps and be an Army doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But then after undergrad, I did not apply to med school while I was in undergrad. I already knew that I was going to take at least a year off, just because the application process alone is
It's crazy.
It's like a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had emailed one of my professors at the end of my senior year, and I asked if she would write me a letter of recommendation for my medical school application. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. By the way, are you interested in working in my lab as a lab technician? And I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about research. I've never worked in a lab before, but sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I started working in her lab at UC Davis. It was a neuroscience lab. Got my first introduction to research and really enjoyed it. So throughout the first year I was working for her, I took the MCAT, I applied to med school, didn't get into med school, but throughout that process, I was like, I don't think I actually want to go to med school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided to apply to grad school. But on the Army side, I was kind of just like stuck in medical service at that point, and I was like, well, crap, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I started looking into other options, and I actually, by the time I went to captain's career course, I went for combined logistics, and my plan was to pick up a secondary AOC. So my primary AOC was medical service, and I wanted to pick up logistics as my secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the logistics captain's career course, but I ended up not ever getting into a logistics position to be able to submit the paperwork to pick up the AOC. And then I ended up getting out. So spent the majority, I guess, all of my Army career in medical service, unexpectedly.
Yeah, it happens. But do you so I don't know. I mean, this might be for the Army too, but do you think that medical gets away with like a lot more stuff compared to the other divisions?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay. Because I got away with murder, like literally murder. It was hilarious. So, yeah.
It's funny because it's like a double-edged sword. Like, I loved that we kind of had free reign to like do whatever we needed to do, and everybody was kind of just like, oh, we're just not going to touch them because they're medical and we don't understand what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice, but then at the same time it's like, well, like I want to be involved in like the planning process and the operations process, and everybody's just like, oh, you're medical, go do your own medical thing, we'll figure the rest out. Like, no, I want to do that stuff.
Yeah, and we could do like so much more stuff than compared to the civilian world. Like for me, I got my like medical tech like certification through the Air Force, and then I come out and all I have is an EMT basic certification where I could suture people, I could intubate people, I can do a lot more stuff than like what the normal like EMT could do. And like it was funny during one of the codes we had for training, it was obviously a mannequin, but it wasn't real. But like we had one dude, he was a doctor there, just completely shit the bed when it came to like the code, like just messing up the code. He was just like froze. And so I literally took him, pushed him over to the side, and I was like this. All right, I need 2 IVs, one here, one here. I need some fluids. I need this. What's his sat? Like literally going up and down to checking who this like what's going on with this person. And then like, I was like, okay, what's her stat? Like, oh, it's like 85%. I'm like, all right, well, it's time to intubate. Let's go. So like, I literally like intubated this patient and like, just like, brought him over to like some like, area just to kind of, like an ICU just to make sure he's okay and stuff. But it was like, it was so funny. Like I got to do so much stuff in the military. Like it was just insane. Like even like dealing with patients, like, military members that are patients, it's just like, God, you're such a wuss. Like, suck it up, man. Like goodness. And like, I had to do so many STD checks. That was just hilarious.
Gosh, that's funny.
It,
Yeah,
it,
I was medical service, and that's like the one part of the medical world in the Army that has zero actual medical capabilities. Like
yeah.
I didn't do I was like I was the platoon leader for the medics, and
Mm,
so I did logistics, and I made PowerPoints, and I sat in meetings with the commander and all that kind of stuff, but nothing actual medical. But during my deployment, my medics taught me how to give an IV, and I got to give my
nice.
commander an IV.
Nice, nice. I used to be the guinea pig for new trainees, like people coming in for IVs, because like literally my arms are like Google Maps. Like seriously, like I get, it's called nurse porn. Like they literally look at my veins and they're like, "Oh my God, these are amazing." And it's just like I don't even need a tourniquet to do an IV. And like what I would do is I would lay in bed and they're like, "Okay, you have to get an IV on this guy." And I would start screaming and get them so like anxious and fired up that like they would fuck up, part of my French. And like literally I had one guy, he literally took a needle, like this is my arm here. He literally went straight down in my arm instead of like doing like an angle like this. And I'm yelling at him like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you?" And so yeah, it was. I think I got like 7 IVs in like one day just to get
Oh
tested
my
on. It's
gosh.
it was like whatever, but yeah, it's the craziest stuff. Like with STD checks, like I didn't go near there. I told them like listen, you did this, so you're putting that Q-tip up there, and so and and it would be funny, like, and they'd be like, they go in, they're like, and I'm like, no, you got to go in a little further, bud. Just, kind of move it around too. And so I'm like, you regret doing this? And they're like, yep. So
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
yeah, I got away with so much. Oh, it was so funny. Like just, I would just mess around and but the thing was I would get stuff done. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you get it done, you could screw off or whatever. So,
That's awesome.
but what was the deciding factor of you actually like leaving the military?
So I originally commissioned into the California National Guard. When I moved to New Jersey for grad school, I submitted an interstate transfer to transfer to the New Jersey National Guard. And that process took me like 2 years. And in that process, I lost 2 good years towards retirement, because
Hmm.
in order to retire at 20 out of the Guard, you have to get your retirement points by attending drills, attending annual training, all that kind of stuff. And because I was in the middle of an interstate transfer, I didn't have enough attendance points to uh, make good years for those 2 years.
Yeah.
So I already lost 2 years in that interstate transfer. And then when I was moving from New Jersey to Kansas, I again tried to do an interstate transfer from the New Jersey Guard to the Kansas Guard. Um, about a year after I first submitted my packet, I had already had to resubmit my packet 2 more times because it got lost. And at that point, so I had talked to the Kansas Guard, and I was like, hey, I have spent a lot of time in MTO units, and right now I want to focus on trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games. And the op tempo of an MTO unit doesn't necessarily allow for that. So I
Hmm.
would like to go into a TDA unit. So MTO is like the combat units. TDA for the National Guard is the units that basically manage like the state operations, because the National Guard differs from active duty and the reserves in that the National Guard can be deployed within the United States. So we respond to things like natural disasters. I spent over a year activated in New Jersey for the COVID response in New Jersey. So a lot of stuff stateside, and the TDA units kind of managed that stateside stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to go into a TDA unit. I'm all about the stateside stuff. Got a lot of experience with it in New Jersey. I'd love to do more of it in Kansas. I just don't want to be in an MTO unit right now. They were like, yeah, great. We'll put you in this TDA unit. It's going to be great. Fast forward like 3 months, and I get a call from the brigade commander, and she's like, hey, we have a field artillery unit that is deploying, and we need a commander for the rear detachment, and you're our only option. And because I was already a captain and I hadn't had command at that point, I wasn't in a position to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So the interstate transfer to Kansas turned into, instead of transferring into a TDA unit, they wanted to transfer me into a command position. And I was like, oh no, this is not what I was hoping for with
Yeah.
And then the more I learned about the unit, the more I realized what a disaster it was going to be. They didn't have a supply sergeant. They didn't have a readiness NCO. Like it was just a mess. And it was the forward support company for a field artillery unit, which means they have a ton of equipment. They're not taking any of it forward with them. So it's all going to be stuff that I'm going to have to sign for. It's probably all broken.
Yeah.
And without a supply sergeant, that was just like a recipe for disaster.
Mm.
So at that point, my interstate transfer packet got lost again. So I told
Goodness.
New Jersey, I said, you know what, just change it to a resignation packet. The only difference is you check a different box on the form, submit my resignation packet. So that packet got lost twice. But finally got my resignation packet submitted and approved, and got my official, I guess it's, so when you commission, it's federal recognition. When you lose your commission, it looked like a federal recognition form. I don't know if that's what it's called, but whatever it was. So I'm officially out. I enjoyed my time in the Army, and I'm grateful for it, and I learned a lot from it. But it just got to the point where it wasn't what I was passionate about anymore, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was becoming more of a chore than anything. And I got so fed up with all of the bureaucracy and the, process takes 2 years because of all the paperwork and red tape.
Pretty much. Yep. That was the Air Force too as well. Like I think it's every single branch.
Yeah. It's just government in general.
Pretty much. Yeah. So when did CrossFit come about, like come into your life?
So I graduated from undergrad in 2013. Before college, I was a dancer and a gymnast, so I was very active when I was younger. I quit gymnastics when I was, I think, in middle school, and then I quit dance when I was in high school. And then when I went to undergrad, the only physical activity I did was PT that I was required to do for ROTC. Mm-hmm. I graduated, I commissioned, and then I had, again, because of bureaucracy and paperwork, I didn't drill for about 10 months because I was waiting for them to actually like process my commission. Mm-hmm. So it was coming up on having to get ready for my first drill. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to have to take a PT test. And I've done nothing except sit on the couch and eat a lot of Taco Bell. And I am not in any shape to pass a PT test. And which was very sad because at the time, it would have been the run that I would have failed. And I had 18 and a half minutes to run 2 miles, and I wasn't able to do it at that point.
Yeah.
So at the time I was working for the Princeton Review. I was doing ACT, SAT, teaching and tutoring. And right next to the Princeton Review office, there was a new gym opening. It was a strength and conditioning gym. and they had a, try it for a week for free. So I got some information from them, ended up trying it out. Went to a 6 a.m. class on a Friday morning, and it was really, really, really rough. The coach did not think that he would ever see me again. I showed up again Monday at 6 a.m.
Nice, nice, awesome, very cool.
And yeah, so started at that strength and conditioning gym. Focused a lot on like powerlifting, but we did a little bit of CrossFit-esque stuff. I learned what a burpee was. I learned what a thruster was, unfortunately. But I got into Olympic lifting about a year before I moved to New Jersey. And I wanted to continue doing it in New Jersey, and I didn't know where else to go besides an actual CrossFit gym. So that was 2016 that I joined my first like legit CrossFit gym.
Okay. Well, so obviously, like the first day was really rough for you, but like, what kind of made you stick and say, "Hey, I want to keep on doing this"? Was it just like, "Hey, I just got to pass my PT test," and so just like I need something?
So actually, I really just enjoyed the people. I showed up that Friday morning. It was a class of maybe like 5 or 6 people.
Oh, those are the best. Those are the best, by the way. It's bad for the gym, but like awesome for the clients.
Yeah, and it was so great. All of them learned my name. I'm the last one doing the workout, and they're all cheering me on to finish. And after the class was over, they wanted to talk to me and get to know me. And they were like, "Hey, we hope to see you again. It was great meeting you." And so at that point, I was like, "Well, I like these people, and I don't want to let them down by not showing up again."
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went back on Monday.
Nice.
And then it just became like, oh, well, I told Steve I was going to be there tomorrow, so I have to go tomorrow morning. Or like, oh, we're doing this in class tomorrow, and like so and so said that we're going to work on that, and so I need to be there. And then that slowly turned into, wow, this is really cool. Like, I like pushing my body and seeing what I'm capable of. I didn't know I could do these things, and this is really exciting. So it started with the community, and then turned into just like really enjoying learning what I was actually capable of.
Yeah. So when did like you realize you're like, "Hey, I'm kind of better than the majority of the people at this gym"?
Um, I don't think that was necessarily the case until I moved to New Jersey.
Okay.
And I started at the CrossFit gym in New Jersey. That was like September of 2016, and then picked things up pretty fast. There was a lot of like CrossFit nuanced movements that we didn't do at my gym in California, but when I started learning them in New Jersey, I picked them up pretty fast. I think a lot of that was just because I had like a gymnastics background, and I had like decent body awareness from growing up in gymnastics and dance. So the 2017 Open, that was back when they had regionals. And for 2017, I did the Open in the Northeast region. And at the time, I think you had to finish like top 25 to make regionals. And I did not know anything about competing in CrossFit or anything like that. I just did the Open, and I finished like, I don't know, 750 in the Northeast region or something like that. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Like, maybe I should try this. So I actually started being like, okay, I want to do this. Like, I started doing local competitions. I was so ready for the 2018 Open. I did the Open, and I finished, I think I was like 150 in the Northeast region in 2018. So I was like, all right, this is it. Next year, I'm making regionals. But 2018 was the last year they had regionals.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah. So then 2019 also got weird, because that was when I deployed. So I missed the 2019 Open, because I was between 3 different countries throughout the 5 weeks of the Open. And then 2020 Open, that was the year they did the Open in October.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the Open while I was still deployed in 2019. Lost a lot of fitness during my deployment. But I did the Open, didn't go great, but came back excited and motivated to like get back into training until I went back to the gym for the first time. And oh God, I don't even remember what the workout was. It was like ski erg and dumbbell thrusters and something else maybe. And it was a 12-minute workout. And after the 12 minutes was up, I laid on the floor of the gym and cried because it was so hard coming back to it after my deployment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with me laying down, I'm not a big fan of that personally. This is for me. I've only done it, I think, twice in my whole entire CrossFit career, and I've been doing this for like nine years. And I was just like, I just can't. I don't want to lay there like a dead dog. Like I just can't. Like I can't do it. And I remember the one specifically was the CrossFit Open workout with the thrusters and chest to bar pull-ups.
Oh, missed that one. That was
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, so I think I got to like the round of 18 thrusters, and
Oh.
I like after I was done, I was just like trying to lay on the wall, like lean back on the wall, like trying to get on all fours, try to sit on a box, and I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like I can't get comfortable. And then finally I was just like plop, just like on the floor, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have to do this for a little bit. So
See, I'm the opposite. I lay down after almost every workout. My coach yells at me sometimes. But I am so dramatic at the end of my workout.
I
But
could see that. Yeah, I've seen some videos of like some of the like elite CrossFit girls or like other CrossFit girls like just moaning and stuff like that, and I'm like, that sounds very that's I'm very uncomfortable right now. It's like, should I just shut this off and just watch something else? So
yeah, when I'm at the gym working out and there's like classes or something going on and I'm doing like a really hard like what really gets me is rowing and the echo bike. Like I make some very, very weird noises when I'm rowing or when I'm on the echo bike.
yeah.
And I'll tell the class, I'm like, I'm really sorry for whatever is coming out of my mouth right now.
Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah, and so what like do you like why didn't you start working with like other like CrossFit companies like Misfit, like Mayhem or anything like that? Like why? Because I know you were training at the gym, and then I think you have another coach right now at Cobra Command, correct?
Yeah. So my coach at Cobra Command, her name's Jill Glassnap. I started working with her in 2021 after quarterfinals. Up until that point, my coach before her was actually my best friend. We started out as training partners, and then she moved more into the coaching side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ended up being my coach for a while. Before that, my coach was just the owner of the gym that I was at.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I was working with my best friend, her name's Elena, and she's actually back to competing now, which is awesome. I think she's going to make semifinals next year.
Nice.
But when Elena was coaching me, she coached me through the 2021 season. So I did the Open and quarterfinals that year. And I finished quarterfinals. That was back when North America was one region,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to finish top 120 in quarterfinals. And I finished quarterfinals 231.
Oh,
So yeah, we had a long conversation about it, and the gist of the conversation was, I can get there, but neither of us really know exactly what that looks like because we've never done it before. I've
mm-hmm.
never been there. She's never coached somebody there. So she was like, I love working with you and I love coaching you, but I want you to do what's best for you. She was like, I never want you to like stay with me as your coach just because we're friends and you don't want to hurt me or feel bad or whatever. She said, you need to do what's right for you. So if there's a better opportunity out there, you need to take it.
Yeah.
So I started emailing a bunch of training camps. I emailed Training Think Tank. I emailed Justin Kotler before he started Underdogs. I emailed Comp Train, just all of these training companies or training camps that I could think of, trying to figure out like, how do I become one of your athletes? Like, how do I do this for real?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the majority of the responses I got, if they even responded at all, were, you can do remote programming, see how that goes for a year or two. If it works out, then, maybe you might be invited to come train in person with us, that kind of stuff. But at the time I was 29. And I was like, I don't have a lot of time to
Yep.
test something out for 2 years and see if it works. Like, I need a solution that's going to be right here, right now. And I was ready to pick up and move wherever, like right then and there. So I ended up getting connected with Jill through my nutrition coach at the time. Well, she's still my nutrition coach, Meredith. And Meredith coaches, she does nutrition coaching through Cobra Command. So she was like, I was kind of, explaining the situation to her, and she was like, oh, I should connect you with Jill. At the time, Jill was coaching Jacob Hepner and Olivia Kerstetter.
Oh, cool.
And so like, she's obviously, she knows how to coach somebody to the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's perfect. So I got on a call with her, really enjoyed talking with her, came out to visit for a weekend, enjoyed being out here, and then decided to move out here. So I'm incredibly grateful that she was willing to take a leap of faith with me. And it's worked out pretty well so far, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say so too. So, when you got those notifications that you were the fittest service member for like 2 years in a row, pretty much, like, how did you feel through that? Do you feel like, okay, like this is, I'm in a good path of like where I'm supposed to be?
Yes and no. I kind of have mixed feelings about the occupational games.
Okay.
I know that there are other females in the service who probably could have beat me in the occupational games if they had participated. But they were focused on, at the time, I think in 2021, the first year I won the occupational games, Rachel Schreiber, now Rachel Von Ratch, she was on the Warrior Fitness team. And like, if she had competed in the occupational games, she probably would have beat me. She was a very good athlete at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But she was getting ready for semifinals, so she didn't do the occupational games. And there was just a lot lower participation in the occupational games than I was hoping for. So it's still cool to be like, yeah, I'm the 2-time fittest military service member. And I think last year, I believe it more for 2022 than I do for 2021.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
You shouldn't sell yourself short, though. Come on. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. I bet you there were like hundreds and thousands, like hundreds or like thousands of people that were like, would be like, man, I wish I can be like, the fittest service member or whatever occupation they are at. Like, be like, hey, I'm the fittest person there. So,
Yeah. I am proud of it. I'm proud of it. I'm a little sad that CrossFit got rid of it this year, but I
I agree.
understand why they did. They needed to focus on other things with the bigger picture in mind. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to call myself a games athlete. I'll put
Okay.
it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, how many sessions do you do for like coaching at Cobra Command?
So I only coach on my rest day.
Okay.
Well, I take Thursdays and Sundays are my rest days, and so I coach on Thursdays. I coach 2 classes on Thursdays right now. That might change once I'm into the off season, and I might coach a little bit more. I just don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to coaching every week right now.
Yeah. But like when you do coach in the off times, like how do you kind of, get the group ready, or, do they know like what you're trying to do at all?
They do, yeah. My gym is super supportive. They're so incredible. We have we have a bright spots board at our gym where we'll update it every couple of weeks with like the bright spots of the gym, and they always want to put like my competitions and stuff up there. So like they put when I, Ellia qualified for semifinals. So that was really cool. I actually had a couple people from the gym come out and watch me at semifinals last year.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, they traveled all the way from Kansas to Knoxville to watch me at Syndicate Crown last year. And then there's like a whole group that is already planning their trip to Madison this year. I'm like, guys, I haven't qualified yet. And they're like, yeah, but you will.
Yes, yes, yes. So, when your first time at like the Syndicate Crown, like the sanctionals, whatever they call it, what was your whole, like when you walked in there and registered and then started doing the competition, like what was going through your mind throughout that whole process of you being there?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. It was like I don't even know how to explain it. Walking into like the athlete registration, um, I was I was on cloud nine. It was so cool. You walk in, they give you all your information. We got like our shirt and our little
Yep.
noble pack and all that kind of stuff, and we got the lanyard with our name on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it has my name on it and it says athlete. This is so cool.
It's almost like Wayne's World when like they were in the back of the back of the concert and they're like just showing their back the VIP passes.
That's exactly what it felt like. Um, but it was just so exciting. And last year, so I've done a lot of work on my mental game in the past year. And last year I showed up to semifinals. I finished quarterfinals at 115. Um, Between the end of quarterfinals and finalizing the leaderboard and sending out semifinals invites, I bounced between 115 and 125, and the cutoff was 120. So
Mm.
that was like the most stressful 2 weeks of my life.
Yep.
Ended up finishing at 115, got my invite to semifinals. I cried when I got the email. I was getting ready to do a personal training session with somebody and I was crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry. um, but I went to semifinals last year in a very different mindset than I'm going this year. Last year, I was just excited to be there. I almost felt like it was a fluke. Like, I'm not actually supposed to be here. Somehow I managed to sneak in. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how I did that. And so it was really just like, it was just exciting. And I wasn't super focused on like, oh, I'm going to try to win this workout or what's my strategy to beat this girl and blah, blah, blah. Like none of that. I was just like, I'm going to go out on the competition floor and they're going to see my name. And that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But very different mindset this year. This year I'm going to compete this year, and I'm going to stay in the last heat this year and punch my ticket.
Okay,
So
very cool. So, what's the have you done like the travel arrangements already? Like, what are the steps from like you leaving Kansas to going to Orlando and then doing the competition? Like, do you gonna give yourself like a couple days just to get acclimated down there? Like, how's that work for you?
yeah, so I'm actually in the West.
Oh, the West. I'm sorry. That's right.
Kansas is in the West,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll
My
be going
my bad.
to. So cool thing. The Pasadena Convention Center is only 30 minutes from where my sister and her husband just bought a house.
Okay.
So I'm going out. My registration or my check-in is on Thursday and my competition starts on Friday. I'm flying in the Sunday before and I'm staying with my sister for a couple days. So I'll have some time to, shake out the travel, get some food prep done, um, move a little bit before the competition starts. And
Hmm.
then I'll compete Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My parents are driving down from Modesto, so they're going to come
Oh, very
watch.
cool. Yeah.
Um, and then after the competition, I'm staying with my sister again until that Wednesday. We're gonna go to Disneyland. I'm really excited.
Okay, I would be too. I've never been there, so it seems pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I've been to the one in Orlando like a bunch of times
okay.
because it's like I'm from the East Coast, so it's like easier. So I've never been over. The only time I've been to Cali was when I went to San Francisco to Travis Air Force Base, and that was like the only real time I saw
Oh,
like it was a dump. Like this was like 8 years ago or something. No, less than that, but it was just like walked around. I'm like, this place is a shithole. So it's like, this place is
I hate
awful. So yeah.
yeah, I haven't been to Disneyland in probably 15 or 20 years. So I'm really excited. We used to go. My dad had a work conference in Pasadena every year, and so
Mhm.
we would get our family vacation and we would go to Disneyland.
Oh, cool.
But I think the last time we did like a Disneyland night trip for our senior grad night in high school.
Hmm.
But besides that, I think the last time I was at Disneyland, I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, it's been a while. So
Yeah.
lots of new things. Lots of new things.
I'm really excited.
Awesome. So does your sister have any kids in the house?
She does not.
Ooh,
She
thank
has a
goodness for you.
dog
Oh,
though. Yeah, no crying babies. So that'll
thank
be good.
thank thank goodness. Like that's like I can't imagine like kids are like super early in the morning running around because I have two kids. I have a 7 and a 4 year old, and so I train. I've told tell everybody like I train super early in the morning. Like I start working out at like 4:30 at the
Oh my God.
gym. So because like that's the only time I can do it. And so like there's times where I want to sleep in, and my son's up at like 6 a.m. and I'm sitting there like what? Like what's going on? And my daughter sleeps through like anything. So she's up at like 8:30 and she goes to bed at 8. So it's insane
Oh
like
my
how
God.
much it's insane how much sleep she gets. So
I love that. A girl
yeah.
after my own heart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such an early riser that it's just like whatever. It just comes with the territory, and that's how
Yeah.
my son's like that, and my wife will just like sleep as long as she can, and that's obviously my daughter is exactly like my wife. So
I love sleeping in. I that's part of the reason why I got so fed up with the military. I was tired of waking up early at like training and drill weekends and stuff like that. I was like, I just don't want to be awake this early for anything ever.
yeah, yeah, and like and obviously like all those dudes are drinking like those big monsters, like
Oh my
not the ultra ones, like the real like no sugar, like the ones that have like 120 grams of sugar or something like that. So it's just,
yeah.
oh gosh, I can't. Ugh, gross.
Yeah, there was a lot of monster in my army years. Ooh.
Hmm. Yep, definitely, definitely. So I got some questions from Vic.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
So so he had well one of his questions was, so I know you've had a journey with your jerk blocks. So can you kind of tell me a little bit more information about that?
Okay, so the cycle that I'm in right now, my coach has been programming jerks off the blocks.
Hmm.
However, we did not have jerk blocks at the gym. So I tried to do like a wooden box with a foam box on top, but the problem is I'm too short and I didn't have enough room to dip
Hmm.
before my jerk and I would hit the boxes. So we only had three of the small foam boxes. So I couldn't just stack two foam boxes because I would need four of them and we only had three.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would pull out every 45-pound plate we had in the gym to stack them up underneath the foam boxes. I put like a ROMWAD mat on top of them, and then I would band them together underneath the plates.
Oh my word.
And every time I would end up, I'd do a jerk and the bar would come down and one of the boxes would topple and the bar would fall off. And it was just every session I had some fiasco with my DIY jerk block. And so I posted a video on, or I posted a picture on my Instagram story one week, and I had tagged my coach in it, and she texted me maybe like 2 hours later. She's like, "Hey, I found these jerk blocks on Facebook Marketplace. They're at a gym that's like 30 minutes away. Um, the gym will buy them, but you have to coordinate going to pick them up."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, sold.
Sweet.
She was like, I cannot see another post about your failed jerk block. So we got really lucky. The timing worked out that this gym was selling them, and picked up my new jerk blocks a couple of weeks ago, and it's been great since then.
That's awesome. So, funny story about the jerk block. So, like, my gym doesn't have jerk blocks, and so I actually used. So I'm 6'6", so I used two boxes, and then I used the two pads, like two pads. I think it was like and they were like kind of mix matched a little bit. So there was like a one big one and then like one medium and a small one that kind of equal
Yeah.
both. And so I was like, all right, I'll just use that. And I was doing overhead squats with it. And so like I would like literally like get it, go down and come back up and then drop it. And I was literally holding onto the bar just to kind of keep it in the middle. So, and I actually
Yeah.
posted that on social media too. So, and everyone's like, that looks so dangerous. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's, I mean, if you hit the middle, you're good. So yeah.
Yeah, that was that. I had a couple posts, like I had a couple pictures and videos of like the bar on the floor, the box tipped over, or I had a video of the bar falling off the boxes, and those were some of my most responded to Instagram
Of
stories.
course. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy to have jerk blocks now. Thanks, coach.
Yes. Yeah. I like jerk blocks too. They're a necessity at sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's like, cause there were times I would do lifts and then I'd have to do a clean just to rack it. That's a pretty, I'm like, I can't do it
Yep.
anymore. But, so the next question from Vic is, what is your favorite movement?
Ooh, that's tough. I really like snatches. Um, I would love to see a max snatch at semifinals this year. That would be amazing. Um, but I also really love ring muscle ups. So, like, if you can guess, Amanda is one of my favorite workouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's in ring muscle ups. Yeah, I don't know if I could choose between the two.
Okay. Now, what is a movement that you like doing that you are not really the greatest at? That's my question, by the way. So,
ah, I'm gonna say Echo Bike because I'm learning to love it.
mhm.
The Echo Bike has been a nemesis for a long time, and I used to absolutely despise it. Like, it would make me cry sometimes.
Yep.
But I'm learning to actually like feel powerful on it and like feel confident on it. So I'm still not the best at it, but I'm enjoying it a lot more recently.
Okay. Now, so I've heard another Vic question. Why do you not like pineapple on pizza?
Did he tell you where this came from?
No, he didn't. He just so what happened was I texted him. I'm like, hey, I have you on the show like coming up. Like, what I obviously like he knows more about you than I do. So because like this is the first interaction we're actually having. So, but I'm like, do you have any questions you want me to like kind of talk to her about? And he literally gave it like a whole laundry list of like questions, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna use 99% of these.
So I think I don't remember. Oh, it was when I did a podcast with him on Not All Black and White,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, here's my number. Shoot me a text when you're getting ready to hop on." And I get a text like 20 minutes later, and it's like, hey, this is Domino's. I have your order of 15 large pepperoni pizza with pineapple. And I responded, I was like, this is Vic, right? And he goes, yeah. I was like, for a second, I thought you were like a spam text message or something. And, and he was like, okay, but like, would you have been mad if Domino's gave you 15 large pizzas with pineapple on them? I was like, yes.
Oh, I would not be. Are you kidding me?
Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, so a little backstory. I like mixing weird shit together. So, um, one of them, like, I don't mind pineapple on pizza whatsoever.
Oh my
Um,
god.
I mix Greek yogurt with like sugar-free Jello powder.
Okay, I've actually heard of people doing that, and I've
So
heard it's good.
it's really good. It's really good. And now, like, since I don't have Jello packages, I'm like, I kind of want this like a little bit thicker. So what I'll do is I'll take a honking scoop of peanut butter and slap it in there with Greek yogurt and mix it around.
I support that. I put
Yes.
peanut butter in my yogurt a lot.
Yeah, it is really good. But like, so the reason why I started doing like the sugar-free Jello and stuff like that is obviously because like I can't have the regular sugar Jello. But I was listening to a podcast. It was like an old school Barbell Shrugged podcast, and it was with this strength and conditioning coach Cal Dietz, who wrote a book, The Triphasic Method, and
Mhm.
he's like. You should really consider, especially like heavy, like weightlifters that like lift heavy, they should really consider eating Jello on a daily basis because the ligaments and tendons in the Jello get absorbed into your ligaments and tendons, and so which makes them a lot stronger than like someone else that doesn't eat Jello like that.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Maybe I'll start eating Jello.
Yeah. I mean, or just eat the powder and that's it.
Yeah.
So, and another one is so like the two big things I learned out of that podcast was also if you're doing a back squat or deadlifting, curl your big toe on the way up. And so
Ooh, okay.
what that does, it fires your glutes and hamstrings up to shoot up quicker on the back squat.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank
So
you.
just try it out, just try it out. But yeah, so I am team pineapple on pizza. So
All right, all right. I don't love pineapple on pizza, but I do mix a lot of weird foods together.
mhm.
Growing up, one of our favorites, my dad would always make this. He would make homemade mac and cheese with like pounds of cheese. So good. And then we would mix in, we would take tuna mixed with mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, I would do that too. Yeah.
It's so mac and cheese with tuna and corn.
Hmm.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
all our friends, I have a brother and sister, that's why I say are. All our friends growing up thought we were crazy, but anytime we had friends come over to the house, we would make them eat it and they would be like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah. Like kind of like a tuna casserole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All the time. My mom used to make that all the time. So
So
yeah,
good.
I know what you're talking about. And so I think what is there? Okay, so one of the other question is I've heard that you like dad jokes, and so do you have a favorite dad joke you like to say?
Oh man, I have so many. Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of my favorites. Uh, why was six afraid of seven?
Why?
Because seven was a registered six offender.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
um, what did the zero say to the eight?
What?
Nice belt.
It's so bad, so bad, so bad.
What's the other one? Uh, why did the golfer take an extra pair of pants to the golf course?
Why?
In case he got a hole in one.
Oh my God. That's so bad. So bad. Okay, we're gonna leave. We're gonna stop that. We're gonna stop there. So oh man. Okay, so we're getting close to the end, but I do want to talk about your podcast real quick.
Okay.
So I know you have a podcast out, and I know you've done other podcasts with like other people. So why did you start a podcast, and You know, what are your thoughts on like you going on to other people's podcasts?
Yeah. So I go on to other people's podcasts just because I really like talking with people, and I really like kind of I like the opportunity to share some of my stories because I think that there are stories that some people can connect with.
Yeah.
And one of my goals as a competitor in this sport is to be able to be like a role model and an example and inspire people to, you know, improve their confidence in themselves and understand that they're capable of more than they maybe thought they were. You know, through my CrossFit journey, I have lost about 40-ish pounds.
Nice. Good for you.
I was very overweight when I started CrossFit, and so being able to, you know, share that and share kind of aspects of my military background and kind of just like the experiences I've had in life, I think it's important for people to share their stories because you never know who they're going to connect with and who they might impact or inspire in any specific way. And I just really enjoy having that opportunity. And then my podcast, it's called Rise. It stands for Resiliency, Identity, Strength, and Empowerment. And I actually started that with a friend of mine. His name is Jeff Pilon, and he owns two nonprofits. One is called the Yes Foundation, which is Youth Esteem Services, and the other one is called Rise. And so him and I created Rise together. He had approached me about the possibility of starting a podcast. And really, the goal was to just bring people on who had stories to share about, you know, developing their resiliency, identity, strength, and empowerment throughout a variety of different experiences within their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just being able to share that story, being able to hopefully impact and inspire people and show people that you know, you're not alone if you're going through these things. The original inspiration behind it was to create kind of like an archive for his daughter. He has a teenage daughter
Okay.
who was basically getting to the point in her life where she, you know, it's not cool to listen to your dad anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to be able to collect stories and examples for her to be able to listen to kind of learn from, you know, gain some insight, some coping mechanisms, techniques to, you know, get through hard parts of life, things like that. At a point when she wasn't necessarily willing to listen to him say it, but she might be willing to listen to other people say
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, that's how it started. And actually, the second episode is an interview with Jeff, and we talk about we go into a lot more detail of like how that all started and everything. Like I was telling you earlier, I enjoyed recording the podcast episodes, and I really enjoyed having the opportunity to talk with people and hear their stories. However, I do not have the time right now to commit to make it the product that I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like I would want to put in so much more time and energy to that because I think that's what it deserves. And I just don't have the time to commit to it right now. So I think once I have moved on from competing, I think it's probably something that I'll go back to and pick up again.
Yeah. It's so much fun doing these.
Yeah, it
I
is.
ain't gonna
It
lie.
is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm pretty biased because I have my own podcast, but still, it's just like I love just like learning about like people and like what their daily lives are like and stuff like that and how they handle situations and like all that stuff. So it's like super cool to, you know, understand that and, you know, learn
Yeah.
from other people. Cause like, you know, maybe someone listens to the podcast and is like, oh, I didn't know I could do it this way, or like I didn't know like this could happen this way, you know, stuff like that. So Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely cool to have a platform like this.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. I
Yeah.
also just love talking to people. Like if you see me at competitions, I'm talking to everybody. I'm like I'm not competitor that's like trying to make friends with all the other people at the competition. Saying hi to everybody. My coach has to like pull me away and be like, "No, we have to go rest now. You only have a couple hours before your next event. We got to go do this." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "But
yeah.
I'm friends."
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I have some rapid fire questions. They're not really rapid fire. You can take as long as you want. So, I just say that. But so I know you're going into semifinals, and obviously the goal is to get to the games. But do you have anything that you're looking to do more of in, this year and next year?
Like outside of CrossFit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I want to get into more coaching at the gym
Mhm.
in the off season for sure.
Okay, cool, cool. And then what are your goals for the year in CrossFit?
Oh, make it to the games,
That's it.
and not get last place.
Yeah. All right, I'll take that. What is your favorite book?
Ooh,
It could be fiction, non-fiction. It could be whatever you want.
okay. I'm gonna give you two.
Okay.
My favorite book for a long time when I was growing up was The Giver by Lois Lowry.
Hmm.
I read that in like fifth or sixth grade and just absolutely loved it. I read it like three or four times throughout middle school. My favorite book that I read recently was The Terminal List by Jack Carr.
Okay.
They turned it into an Amazon Prime series.
I saw the first couple episodes. I was like, it's not bad, but I'm like, I don't know if I could take the time to watch this.
The book is infinitely better. I didn't watch. I turned off the series after about three episodes because
Mhm.
I thought it did such a disservice to the book. Um, I cried at the end of the book. It's so good.
I've never cried at a book before.
I that
Huh.
might have been the first time for me.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, what is something that you like to do that no one else knows about?
Oh,
Or
uh,
something that you like in general, like, it could be whatever, or yeah, something you do.
so something I do on my rest days sometimes. I do cross stitching.
Okay.
Uh, I'm really slow. I've been working on the same project for like 6 years. But it's just fun to do to kind of like take my mind off of things and just, throw on some Netflix and do some cross stitching.
Okay. All right, cool. Very cool. I've never heard that one before, so I'll take that. So what is in your gym bag?
Everything.
Everything.
I've got, I think right now I have 5 pairs of shoes. Um,
Damn. Okay.
yeah. So I have 2 pairs of trainers that I alternate between because like if I do my morning session in one pair, I don't want to go back in the afternoon and put on sweaty shoes. So I have 2 pairs of trainers for my 2 sessions. I also have a separate pair of shoes that I wear for rope climbs because my trainers get eaten up on the ropes.
Hmm.
And I have running shoes, and I guess it's only 4 pairs. 4 pairs. I also have a lifting belt, tape, grips, my airwave. I've got a first aid kit. I've got extra shoelaces. I've got a towel. I've got sunglasses, chapstick, nail clippers. Uh, what else? Knee sleeves, rope climb knee sleeves because those are different.
Hmm.
I'm somebody who like when I travel, I 150% overpack, and I am always over prepared for anything.
It's the military in you.
Yeah. So I treat my gym bag like a rucksack.
Okay, that works. So this is kind of like a little in depth, like a little deep question. So let's just say it's your last day on Earth. All your friends are around you. So how do you want people to know you as?
Oh, I I want to be somebody who brought happiness to people's lives. Um, like I tell people I want to be a light in the world. I think there's a lot of negativity in the world,
Mm-hmm.
especially with how big social media has gotten, and people, feel like they are invincible behind a keyboard and can say whatever they want. And um, there's a lot of anger and hate in the world, and I want to be love and happiness and light, and kind of counteract all of that negativity.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Where can people reach out to you if they have any questions about, like, like your whole process of like being in the military, getting in, getting out, or like, going to semifinals, being like, very good at CrossFit and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Ellia_Miller. It's ELLIA_MILLER. I try to check my messages and the pesky hidden requests that Instagram hides from us. But
I get
I
so
do
much,
try to check those.
I get so much crap from those.
I do too. But yeah, if you want to reach out, send me a DM on Instagram, and I'm usually pretty good at getting back to those.
I concur about that too. So, well, thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it and kind of learning more about you. It was awesome talking to you. And I obviously, I would love to have you back on because like there is so much more I wanted to talk about too. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
This was a
it's
lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
yeah. So maybe after like semifinals or something like that, we can get link up and then do another show.
Definitely. I would
Okay.
love that.
And we could talk about Orlando, but actually, no, it's California. So,
Yes.
all right. Well, it was great talking to you.
You too. Thanks, Thomas.